So just to talk to you a little bit about the sense of urgency that's here today, because of what's happened, this has been work. The infrastructure has been antiquated and aging for years. It's been costing hundreds of millions of dollars to the carriers, and they've been wanting to get out of the space. Also, too, it gives the customer an opportunity to kind of move towards new technology. That said, it's just been overly expensive. So, with the amount of lines that we have here in the U.S., talking about in the commercial space, there's about 30 million, and in the residential space, there's about 100 million. So it's a huge opportunity here in the U.S. But with over 1 billion POTS lines globally, because we have set ourselves up as a global platform, so we can work with you here in the U.S. as well as out, it gives you the opportunity to get your customers with confidence and be able to solve this problem for them right away. The legacy system has just been costing a tremendous amount of money, which is what's driving this. Compliance risk are a huge issue with now people starting to put together different ATAs and things like that, thinking that's going to solve the life safety problem because they actually got a dial tone. It's not really the best practice. And with what's happening today with the business needs and immediate solutions, there's just a lot of opportunity for everybody here because with the amount of lines that are out there, it gives everyone a chance to get a little bit of these opportunities to go out to, especially with your customers. So the TelCloud solution was purpose-built for the channel. Again, getting you 5 nines as far as the connectivity, it's a one-to-many solution. We're going to talk a little bit about the technology as we get into it, but it gives you a chance to go out today and take advantage of this huge opportunity that's out there today with the low-hanging fruit around the POTS line replacement. If you just want to go to the next slide, James.
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So talking about this just briefly, the FCC in 2019 completely deregulated space. Now, due to COVID hitting right at the first of 2020, it kind of slowed things down. It gave it an opportunity to kind of flatline, if you will, because it was essential utility. So now that we're kind of evolving out of the COVID climate and landscape, we're starting to see what we were seeing in the 2019-2020 mark. Now at 24 and 25, as we start to get into this, there's huge opportunities this year because with that about 30 million lines that are out there, probably 20 to 30% of those are going to be taken this year. So the fact that you're new into this doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have an opportunity to take advantage of the big opportunities out there because we support about 185 partners today and over 50 with the Crexendo. So we do have a lot of legs, and we're already doing this today in the U.S. So it does give everybody a chance to go out to their customers with confidence because what I like to say is that if you aren't talking to your customers today about POTS line replacement, there's probably somebody that is. When we first got in this business, there were very few people talking about it. But as it's been a growing problem for over the last 4 and 5 and 7 years, more people are starting to find the opportunities, and they're starting to create a better plan around going out to their customers. Okay, next slide, James.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so again, talking about this is that I used to say with as little as even 3 and 4 years ago, the national average of POTS replacement for a copper line was about $65. Now what we're seeing, because it's been deregulated and the carriers are moving away from it, there really is the drive is now you're talking these lines are now hundreds of dollars and even thousands of dollars. We hear all the time across the country, as we're a nationwide company, we're hearing that the costs are anywhere. You could be paying $150, you could be paying $600, you could be paying $1,500 for a line. And for someone who has multiple locations and multiple lines at that location, that's an enormous bill. So, and that's just the actual cost of it. But the cost of maintenance, it's just not something that they can support, so they're passing that through. And what we're dealing with now is over and above the price hikes is not even being able to get service. So even though you might pay $1,500 for an elevator line today, you're only paying that until that line actually goes out of service. And then what ends up happening is you can't get someone to come out and actually take care of it. So the financial burden leans back on your customers. And this is a great opportunity where you can come in and kind of help them have a solution and solve their problem for them. Okay, next slide.
Okay.
Okay. So talking about regulatory compliance, it's life safety is very critical. And we'll talk a little bit about the technology where our solution is unique in its own way because we solved the problem when it comes to alarm lines. As compliancy is needed in every category, a lot of the solutions that are out there today are not really code compliant in many ways. However, companies like TelCloud are looking at, we have all the compliances needed around fire, PCI for financial, even our fax machine is HIPAA compliant for healthcare. We have all the licensing that you would need and certifications you need for fire, as well as elevator. And talking about the new 2025 elevator codes for video, our solution will also offer that for you as well, off of one box.
Okay.
Next slide.
Yep.
Yeah, so when you talk about the operational risk today, I mean, really what you're looking at is a lot of vulnerability within the systems that you have today. If you're still on copper, it puts you at risk or your company at risk. For instance, if you're, have the old credit card machines that are on a POTS line or on more of a kind of a dial tone scenario or dial-up scenario, it puts you at risk. And there's many use cases that we've dealt with where companies are losing thousands of dollars a day because their credit card machine is not up and running how it's supposed to be. So industry-specific risk, you're going to deal with that on a regular basis, but the limited functionality allows you to, really be in a bad situation if you have any issues with your lines. Next slide.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Good, Rob.
So this just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of kind of what we're dealing with today. Service gaps, you can see here in 2017, we've been in this business for quite some time even before that, but you can see how it flatlined. Now with the decommissioning of the POTS lines and more opportunities for new solutions to come in, the hockey stick ramp is starting to happen more and more today. Now you can see here that, this is kind of moving towards 2025, but we're already in extremely high demand with the amount of lines that are going down across the country, and the carriers are just not going back out to service them. So not only is it expensive to roll trucks on a regular basis, but it's even more difficult to actually get a POTS line run today for new construction. Okay. And the quality of service is starting to deteriorate more and more, where one would think if you're paying the amount of money you're paying for these POTS lines that you would get that. But more and more often we hear people and customers saying that when they call in, they just say, we don't do that anymore. We don't service those lines anymore. And they're kind of just left in a situation. It can be very costly because for a fire panel example, that if you are out of compliance with fire and you have a commercial building, you have to go on fire watch. And what that can be is, hundreds of dollars a day that can mount up to tens of thousands a month if you have to go on fire watch.
Okay.
Next slide.
We're good. Yep.
Okay. So talking about 2025, I kind of mentioned it, alluded to it a little bit, 24, 25, we've seen a huge increase in what's going on and where we're moving. So like I said earlier, with the commercial space, about 20 to 30% of that 30 million is probably going to be turned over this year, but we see a 3 to 5 year window that gives you plenty of ramp and pretty a runway to be able to get into this business. So it's not that you're late to it, it's actually that you're just on time, because now more than ever, customers do not have an option. So I know that I hear every day from our partners that more and more customers are coming to them on a daily basis saying, do you have a POTS line replacement solution for my elevator or my fire panel? Because they're starting to experience the pain. They've been paying the money month after month, but now the problem is the breakage and the service and all the things that are there, just not there to kind of meet their needs. And so now they're they're forced to move to a different solution, which is why, TelCloud's a good option out here for you today. Because what I can say about us and being 100% white label, what we have, and we'll talk a little bit about it as well, we have a complete infrastructure. So what we do is we support you all the way around. So if you think of it more like an Amazon model where you pay for what you use, but we do have a slide that'll let you know a little bit more about what we can offer, because we can handle the installations for you. Maybe you have a router relationship with a particular company, you can bring that in. If you have your own PBX or switch, like you're on the Net Safety and platform today with Crexendo, you can bring that. That allows a lower reoccurring cost for you on a monthly basis. It gives you even much more margin to work with, because TelCloud basically has put this together to give you the opportunity to make the margin. We're not a hardware company. We're basically, we have a platform that allows you to go out. When we talk about the technology, we'll explain that a little bit more for you, but it gives you a chance to go out and create anywhere between $20 to $30 to $40 of margin off of these lines. Next
We're on
slide.
slide 11 here, Rob.
I'm sorry?
We're on slide 11 here.
Slide 11, yes. Okay. These are just some of the different key industries that you can work with. Obviously, healthcare, government's huge when you start talking about the commercial buildings that are around, finance. I mentioned about our HIPAA compliant facts, healthcare and healthcare and health offices, obviously to have HIPAA compliancy for faction of information, as well as education. When they have a nurse who has to send particular information out, it has to be HIPAA compliant. But as you look at these industries, obviously there's more, but if you think about it, there's just every commercial building out there will at least have a fire panel in it, and that's NFPA coded. So you have to have, there's two lines in that. There's a primary and a backup. But if you look at the opportunity for the number of commercial buildings out there today, it's massive. When you start talking about these particular verticals, retail, education, manufacturing, industrial, we do all of it. And just this next slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the applications that we saw. But just think of it this way: if it ever was a copper line, or is today, our solution will solve for it.
So I've got a question coming in here, Rob, from Kevin. Can they use their own wireless SIM?
So they can. So we have a connectivity-wise as part of this. We use a router, so you can bring the connectivity, you can bring the router. We'll get into a little bit more about that, but yes, the answer is yes. We are carrier agnostic as well as hardware agnostic. So depending on your use case, if you want to bring the SIM, that's fine. Now we actually, best practice is a broadband connection failover to cellular. As we've moved through the new certifications and more HJs are accepting of this. However, if you have a customer that's sensitive to their network, you can run this 100% cellular and sit off the network. So yes,
I think you answered Kevin's second question, which can they use the LAN first and then go to a wireless connection potentially as a backup, I guess.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that's becoming more of a best practice today than ever, because as we first started in this, people were sensitive about security and the network and things like that. Now it's an adoption rate much higher because it gives you a lot more functionality. And because of our box it's kind of multifaceted and multifunctional, it gives you a lot more bandwidth to be able to use that. So then you're in a situation where if your broadband connection is up and the power is up and you're good, you're not even using that cellular SIM. In the event that the power goes down, the lines like life safety or mission critical lines stay up based on our battery backup.
Perfect. And Kevin, to answer the other question, part of the question, yeah, Crexendo, this does integrate. I think Rob mentioned we got about 50 of our partners already working on the NetSapiens platform and the TelCloud solution. Okay.
Yeah,
one question I had.
Just as
Sorry, go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, just as a background, the reason why we have such a good relationship with Crexendo as a partner is because we use the NetSapiens platform. We are integrators, so we can integrate into anything from routers or platforms, anything that the customer needs or that you need as a partner.
One question before we move off this slide I have, Rob, is, of those 6 verticals you show there, is there any sort of, percent of business, which is the most dominant from your side of standpoint, or is it completely sort of an equal measure of business coming from all 6 sectors there?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So those 6 are kind of probably the top ones. I think retail, healthcare, government is becoming more and more on a regular basis now, as they've kind of held on to their POTS lines as long as they can, but now they're being forced to move. But again, those 6 verticals are probably, it really depends on where your customer is today. Again, if you think about it, if they have a commercial building, there's going to be at least 2 POTS lines in there on the fire panel. There's most likely a security panel in there. And regardless of what panel they have, our devices work on all the legacy devices that are out there today. So we have a really unique technology path that we work with that allows us to use, whether it's an alarm line or it's a voice line or it could be a security line. Our solution will solve for it.
Okay, great. Some more questions coming in here, which is great. Are you providing your own SIP as the replacement, or can they use their own? Our partners use their own SIP.
Yep, they can use theirs. So we can do it. Sometimes companies, even if they're in the business, if they're in a UCaaS or a VoIP provider, they can use theirs, and in some cases they want to just keep it clean and they'll use ours. Again, because of the type of white label that we are, we have a complete infrastructure that you can use. If you want us to take the lion's share of it, we can help you with that and do it for you. Or if you have all the necessary pieces, we've integrated with, with the Ericsson, Digi, PepLink, all the different routers are out there. So depending on what your needs are, we're very adaptable and we're very nimble and quick to be able to help you and customize it based on what your needs are.
Great. And one more question Andre came in with: who does the install to the partners end user clients?
Yeah, great question. So if you are fortunate enough, if you're a large enough company, because TelCloud typically, of the 185 partners that I mentioned, they're some of the largest resellers out there today. We're the back end for them. So they're using our devices. We put their label on it. It goes out as them. Again, 100% white label all the way down to the marketing. When you start talking about installations, we have a fleet of technicians we've been working with across the country. They're third-party vendors, but we've been working with them regularly. So if you have installers today that can go do this, fantastic. If you'd like to lean on us, we're happy to do that as well. In another event, if you're you have an installation team and you have kind of a opportunity where you can handle the business load you have, but all of a sudden you get an opportunity with 1,000 locations, and that might tax your team, you can lean on us, and we're happy to go do that for you as well. Again, out there is you. Everything is your brand. It's your company. We're representing you, and we're helping you go out and secure that business.
Great. Okay. I see another question coming in, but I'll hold off until we get into the technical side of that one, Dennis. So maybe we'll move to slide 12 there, Rob.
Okay. Are you on 12 or 11? I'm sorry.
12 now.
Okay, 12 now. So yeah, this just gives you an example. I'm sorry, I might have been a slide ahead of you guys. This is just an example of all the different applications that we solve for. Again, like I said, if it was ever a copper line, or it is today, it's left today, then our solution will solve for it. Typically, what you're going to see mostly is the alarm lines, fax. There are some gate accesses, pool phones, things like that that are left out there. Even talking about emergency blue lights, campuses, university campuses. Property management loves us because typically they don't have the IT bandwidth or capability to handle it, but we can come in and solve for all the problems on whether it's a blue light or an elevator, or they have, fire alarms, all those different things. So it just depends on what your need is. We have our solution will solve for it.
Right. Well, I've got the similar question to the last one. Which of these really, Rob, is getting the most? Where are you getting the most business from? Which of these use cases or solutions you're selling here? Which of these? Yeah, I'd say call them solutions. Which of these are getting most of the revenue from?
I would say, where the most activity is now is around alarm lines.
Yeah.
So the alarm lines, as everyone moved over to cellular or voice over IP, the remaining lines that were left in the building were usually the ones that wouldn't work on that. So alarm lines like fire and security, all the ones that you would see here, we can even do a voice phone. However, out-of-band management, meter reading, pool phones, PA systems, all those things are ones that typically are left behind, and those are the last ones to go. So, what I deal with a lot is security companies that have one line to one location, whether it's residential or commercial. That's their core business. And now they're finding the need to actually have to go in and replace that line because their customers asking for it. And they're moving towards TelCloud to be able to offer that ready-made solution, and they can be propped up and ready to go within a week. We're very easy to work with, especially through our Crexendo relationship. We're very easy to work with, and we can onboard you very quickly and have you up and running in no time. Again, it's your customers. They trust you. They have the faith in you. We just give you the industry best solution that you can go out to that is going to work 100% of the time.
Okay, we got a question coming in. How does your product complete alarm calls at a higher success rate than just over normal G711, right? Some normal PCM, and how is it different than a normal ATA or FXS line that would register?
And that's an outstanding question, because obviously today alarm lines are the finicky ones that more and more people are finding to have trouble with because they're going out of our void. But I will tell you this: if we could just pause on that question for a second, we're going to be into the technology, and we'll be able to answer that very easily there, and give the entire audience a chance to look at our box and be able to see walk through it as we talk about that. We'll answer that as we go.
Okay. I'm on slide 13 here, the easily integrate, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, so that was kind of, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves talking about some of those things about our infrastructure and how we can handle installations. Basically what it comes down to is we can make this very easy for your company. We can integrate, we're scalable. We're also future ready. We'll talk about that with the technology as well, is because what people are solving for today is actually the POTS line at the location. The entire network and infrastructure is going to go away at some point in time. We could say 5 to 7 years, but what's going to be left behind is everybody who's solving the problem at the location is not going to have the ability to continue with those lines. We've actually taken the approach, thinking about, again, giving you the best-in-class solution that you can go with. We future-proof our product, so when that actually goes down, our communication is already set up with the IP path. In our portal, which is a single pane of glass, in our dashboard, we can flip the switch and route them all away. So you don't have to go out and replace boxes. And that's going to be a huge opportunity for everybody that's working with a telecom solution today, because there's the other boxes that are out there today are going to have to make a change. You're going to have to replace the boxes that are out.
Okay. I got slide 14 here, Rob.
Excellent. Okay. So really what it comes down to when we talk about this, we want to earn your trust and let you know that we're doing this daily across the country and across the globe. We give you the opportunity. It's very fast. It's almost like the easy button for the partners that are out there today. It's fast and simple. It's secure and reliable. And when I mentioned about customizable, depending on what your needs are, you can size up the solution or size it down. We even have the 5G capability where you can for primary internet. So it does really give you an opportunity to go in and have this low-hanging fruit with the POTS replacement line or the POTS line that's there, and offer a lot more services, because even we're solving for a very simple application, a copper line, which is kind of a dumb line, it requires a massive lift when it comes to the back end and back haul, which is where we've had a considerable investment in to make sure that we're doing this correctly across the board.
Yeah, I got a great question. Yeah, sorry, Rob. Got a great question coming in. Installation hiccups. Do you typically do a site survey, to make that installation smooth and run seamlessly, or what's an install typically look like, and how long does it typically take?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and you want to really narrow your scope of work so that it puts you in a scenario where you're going to win. So understanding more what the customer needs are. If you were in touch with your customer and you understand what their telco closets look like already, if you're already in and out of there, you're way ahead of the curve, especially if you're installing. Now, what we do is we have the ability from our product team. We really, nailed this thing down. So we're really just, you pull it out of the box. There's 4 screws on the wall. You verify the signal. You turn it on. You take the lines and you pull them over and you punch them down, and you're good to go. Now, that install could take 2 hours, or it could take 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the guy or girl that's in the room actually installing the box. And if it's your telco closet that you have been going back and forth into for years, or it's not, we can help you with that to make sure that you get in and out. But typically we allot for about 2 hours on this, and most of our guys have been doing this regularly, in and out of there in 30 to 45 minutes.
Perfect. Great answer. Okay, good. Good on 14. Do you want to move to 15 or?
Yeah, let's go to 15 if you don't mind.
Okay.
So this is kind of just what we were talking about, the ease of implementation. I mean, it makes it very easy because you get to choose what you need from us, and then we just round it out, right? So if you're bringing in, obviously you're bringing the NetSapiens, your PBX and switch, so you'd have that. If you bring in a route, the more you bring in, the easier it is. However, if you say, hey, I just want a full and complete solution, and I just want to use my NetSapiens, you can do that, no problem. You can be up and running in less than a week. Typically what we do is we have a call, we go through this, we can actually get you on board very quickly with our team. And the nice thing about this is we're all in this together. There is no long-term contracts. You don't have to sign a contract with us. Again, you pay for what you use. So you don't have to sign any contracts with us or agreements to say there's a minimum. That's the nice thing about the Crexendo relationship, is it gives you a chance to kind of crawl, walk, run with your customers. I believe that some of you that are out there have some huge opportunities. You might have, like some of the partners that I have hundreds of thousands of lines that they're trying to replace. Others have 10 and 15. But the benefit of being under the Crexendo relationship is that you do have the opportunity to come in and kind of crawl, walk, run. And as you start to get more and more confidence in what you're doing and in us, it allows you to go out and maybe where it was just a value add to your customer, now you can see a go-to-market opportunity, and you can take this out of the box and go out to other customers and start to create a really good recurring revenue business out of this. Because ultimately what's going to happen is the next person who gets these lines, if they're servicing their customer correctly and the line is working just how it's supposed to, they're going to have that line for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So the reason why we say there's a window here of 3 to 5 years is simply because there's 30 plus million lines commercially and 100 in residential, and there's just not enough people out there to do that today. So everybody on this call today has an opportunity to go out next week and start promoting this and seeing what your TAM is between your customers, and give you an opportunity to come back and say you can do this for them as early as next week. And then lastly, we've made this from a product development. We made it very easy to go in, install, work with. You have our complete team. We have experts on the backside of this to support you and help you. We have all the white level marketing collateral. It's not like you have to reinvent the wheel. You're ready to go into business. Again, you brand it as yours. You can use all the content and collateral we have. You can even colorize it to your company if you want to, but it gives you a chance to be in business with this. And you can always expect the 5 nines on the uptime. And that's what we're say best in class. We ensure that these lines are up 100% of the time.
Yeah, and just to follow on that, Keith had a great question about, not all these teams have huge amounts of people. Some are one-man shop sort of thing. And do you have phone support for if they're doing their own installs? What sort of support do you give?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So typically a partner would do tier 1 support. We can help you with that as well. But tier 2, we're there for you. So you do have support on a call. You can call into our team we'll be picking up and answering. But because we've been doing this on a daily basis with hundreds of locations a day, our team's always prepared to step in and go through the support with you and help you get that line up and running while you're on location. And if you know that you're going to be there and you need help, we're always happy to kind of align that call at the time you're at the location.
And I think you answered the question on this slide as well. Keith had a question about, is there a monthly or an annual commit on the number of units they have to sell? I think I heard you say no contracts needed.
Yep. No, okay. There's not. And that's the benefactor, because typically if you were to work with us, like I said, we work with some of the largest resellers out there. It's a pretty high bar when you come in to work with us off the street, but through the Crexendo relationship, it gives you the opportunity to come in and crawl, walk, run. So, you don't need to come in with any minimums. This gives you a chance to come in and get your feet wet and start going with this through, a natural progression or organic progression with your customers.
Okay, great. I mean, there's some pricing questions coming on, but I'll wait till the end here and we can share your contact details. So I think we're good on 15.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Okay, so 16. So this is technology. And James, keep me honest here on the couple of questions we talked. I want to make sure I covered those about how do we handle the alarm side of the question. And there was one other one, I think, that was maybe around the battery backup. But this gives you kind of a shot. And what I do want to emphasize here is, one, we do have a couple of different flavors depending on what your needs are, whether it's life safety or not. But I'll just kind of walk through this. This is a complete solution for us. So you can see the enclosure. It's fireproof and weatherproof. So you can do this indoor or outdoor. It's a NEMA enclosure. It's a modular solution. And we chose it this way because when we started putting this together, 5G was kind of just talked about and was on its way. We wanted to have a faster upgrade path to 5G. Now that it's here, we're already well ahead of the curve by putting 4G or 5G routers in the box. So an NEMA enclosure, it's nice because you can lock it. Even guys who don't need it, a lot of times want the enclosure because it's optional. They want it because they can lock it and they know who's been in there and who, it's a little bit of a paper trail when someone goes in. 2, the podcast box there, you'll see that's really where our company thrives, is in the back end. That's what supports us up to our cloud management system. It's an ATA, it goes in, but really what it does, it completes that connection and goes out to our back end and back haul, where that transmission, that call runs through the central station, alarm lines just how it should, or completes the call from a voice perspective very easily. The battery backup, now there is a battery backup in that POTS cast that meets all the requirements for fire or elevator. You have to have 12 on fire, and it depends on your jurisdiction, either 4 to 8, and in some cases 24. But there's a 24-hour battery in the POTS gas box, but you can add additional battery if you'd like to. You can add up to 48 to 96, depends on what your customer needs. If they want more redundancy around the battery backup, it's easy to be able to do that. The DMARC there, or the RJ21X, this is where we really kind of get into the alarm conversation. But what we've done is that's just tip and ring, just like you would see. This sits on the telco side of the block. So it allows you to be able to go in and pull the inside wiring off the customer DMARC, punch it down on this. That last foot of copper is really important. That's what we call a next generation POTS line. Because according to a fire panel or security panel or fax machine, that last foot of copper is allowed to communicate how it always has. Once it goes into our ATA and gets transmitted out, that's kind of where the magic happens. That's proprietary to us. But what it does allow us to do is use our alarm license data. We have UL licensed data centers that are actually alarm licensed. We're the only company out there that can provide an alarm license technology to not only generate that call, but reprocess and transmit it just how it's supposed to. So when we talk about how do we handle alarms and can ensure it gets it 100% of the time, that's really where it is. So again, if it's on the PSTN network today or it's an IP path, our box is intelligent enough to know which one it is and process it just how it should. The future proofing that I mentioned is in the future when the whole network goes away, when the complete network goes away, our box is going to still be ready to be in place and operating how it should.
Perfect.
And then lastly, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rob. Keep going. I'm still on 16.
Oh, yeah. So lastly, what I was going to say is on the router here, you can see it's 4G or 5G. So where we really shine and we talk about installation, and again, trying to think about how you might go in and install and keep the time down. Is it a site survey? Is it a one and done? We'll leave that up to you on your business practices. However, we put this together so that when you actually go into the telco closet, there's really 3 things you need to verify. Is there a spot up on the backboard where you can mount this? Is there power in the room? And is there signal? So if you get in a challenge situation, and we've done high-rise buildings in the biggest cities with subterranean machine rooms 3 levels down and had to get signal in there. The downside to trying to use extended antennas and boosters, they're not guaranteed. They get really costly outside of 15 to 25 feet. So now what we've done, again, with the modular solution, you can take that router out of this box and you can cable it up to 250 feet. 150 feet is usually gives you a pretty long way, but you can go up to 250 feet with this. So you can put it next level up. You can take it to a window. The router that you see, this number 5 sitting outside the box, is actually weatherproof. So you can put that on the roof if you need to, but it gives you a lot more flexibility in handling that signaling issue on site while you're there. And that's what our installers love today. It's a big value add for our box simply because they have the flexibility to go out and do a one and done installation when there's a signal issue.
Right.
Okay. Now, did I answer? I want to make sure I answered the question for the gentleman that was, or maybe whoever asked the question about the alarm line. Was that beneficial? Or do we need to go into a deeper technology dive on that? We have John on the line who can answer that as well.
Yeah, John's chiming in here as we go. So I think we're good.
And I was going to say, just since John is not able to have a voice on this, he's chatting in. John is exceptional. He's had 13 years in the alarm industry, specifically with fire and security. So one of the reasons that we excel is because John has given us an extreme amount of technology expertise, allowing us to communicate exactly how any alarm panel was. So rather than doing a native cell dialer or something like that, our communicator, our box is going to work exactly how the fire panel would be. So it does save you the cost of re-permitting your fire panel, redrawing it, having to get a native cell dialer to put in that panel. You don't have to do any of that. You set this on the telco side of the block and you're good to go.
I think we have one question. Can it also work over fiber to the premise or FTTC? I'm not sure where that. Yeah. So
yes. It can. So again, working on understanding more about what their needs are. We just need to configure it to meet the needs of the customer who has that. And John's probably kind of in the chat right now, starting to kind of talk a little bit about it. But the answer to that is yes, we can do that. And it also gives you the backup that if fiber gets cut, these lines are still up and running.
Great. Okay, and I'll come back to a few questions that are coming in here. So maybe move on to 17 here, making your new business.
Yeah, it just gives you, we're talking about this is we really want you to kind of get from this that we have a tremendous amount of expertise and experts on hand ready to help you with this. You don't feel like you have to go out there alone. If there's something that you are, unsure of or uncertain of, we're here to help. That's what we do is we support you as a partner. We give you the legs and the SMEs to go out to your customers with confidence. And really what we're about is we're not just a hardware company. We've created this whole infrastructure. You have to have it in today's world to be able to make these connections work. And we put this together so that you have the comfort and the confidence to know you can go out there at any level and be able to support this.
Right.
And then we'll just go to 18. And this will kind of start to line it out. Yeah. So as I talked earlier about the communication platform as a service, you can see here the complete infrastructure that we've created as a platform. We even we have a platform for telco billing. In other words, if you're not the company today that's billing for lines and you don't want to handle taxation or you don't want to have to deal with all that, we can do that for you. Now we bill on your behalf. We're co-branded, but we actually bill on your behalf. So our telco bill center will bill your customers, and we handle all the liability. We're the telco of record, but we handle all the liability, the taxations, all the fees. So it mitigates your risk and liabilities to your company by not filing it properly. Again, we do this for hundreds of our partners out there today, and we do it on a daily basis. Our entire platform is set up to handle it in every jurisdiction across the country. Okay. Mentioned to you about the support. We talked a little bit about that. Typically, our partners handle tier 1 and tier 2. We would do tier 3, but we do, if you have a need for it, we can bump that up and help you with a tier 2 support if you want to. Really, we want to make sure that the calls that you're taking are getting routed to the right personnel and we can handle them quickly for you and efficiently. Installation, we have third-party vendors we've been using for the last 8 and 10 years across the country. We've actually vetted them. So we know guys from a rating system that allows us to pick the best technicians in your area or in the area that you're going to be deploying. And we can do that with confidence. And we are happy to introduce you to our vendors as well. If you're the company that wants that, or we can do it for you. Again, project management, same situation. If you're doing that yourself, fantastic. If you need us, we're happy to do it as well. We do everything from build, test, provision. We ship our boxes live. You can put in the SIM, or if you want to send SIMs to our location on your behalf, a block of SIMs, we actually can get it all and test it all, do it all, have it ready to go out the door. So when your technician gets it or it gets on site, it's really pull it out of the box, mount it on the wall with 4 screws, turn it on, make sure it works, and you can walk away from it with confidence. The switch, obviously you're going to bring that with the NetSapiens platform. Connectivity, again, we're carrier agnostic. You can, if it's Verizon or whoever it may be, you can bring that as well. If you don't have that, we can help you with that. But we have all the compliance, like I mentioned about NFPA, all the compliances around all the different hardware that's needed, all industry best routers in class and things like that. So we're good there. So that's kind of our complete platform. We have that here for you to use. And again, if you want to take the lion's share of that because you're already prepared to do that today, that's outstanding. But if you need us to round out and do more, we're happy to do it. And it's not that once you start it, you have to go one way. Like I said, from installation, if you get a large deployment for 1,000+ locations or whatever it may be, or 2,000, and that's going to task your team and start to stretch it, you can lean on us and we can help you with that one opportunity, or we can continue to help you on all of them. It just depends on how you would like to go into this.
Okay. I think we're good.
Was there any questions around 18 or that? We just go to.
I think the guys that John and Co are answering some questions as they come in here. So I'll come back if there's any left over at the end here. Yeah.
Good. Okay. And we're just about done here, but if you want to go to 19, I'll just touch on something we talked about earlier.
Yeah, we're on 19.
So when we talk about this, when we talk about this particular slide here, like I mentioned, you white label. So we have all the go-to-market materials you need. We have video libraries that you would have access to for technology, for installations, all the things that you need. We give you a sales and marketing toolkit. There's decks. There's everything that is, again, it's white labeled, so you can actually put your brand on it and be ready to go. Or you can colorize it if you want to your company colors, and you can make it your own. But you don't need to go out and try to figure this all out. All the content, all the spec sheets, all the things you need are ready to go in a library, easily accessible. And once you have access to our portal, it gives you the chance to go in and pull down whatever you need. One-pagers, like I said, decks, short presentations, specific tech spec sheets that you need. It's all there and ready for you. Okay? We'll just go to slide 20. We're about to close this thing out.
Okay.
Okay, so lots been said here, but really when we look at this reseller model, so you can see here that TelCloud responsibilities, hardware, the CPaaS licensing or provider, secure alarm, telco, tier 3 support. What's optional, and this is where I say if you have all this and you're bringing it, it's fantastic. If you need any of this stuff, we'll just add it to our responsibilities. But it does give you a chance to bring in your own PBX infrastructure, cellular routers, connectivity. You can bring in your tax compliant billing if you're already doing that today for guys that are doing VoIP lines and things like that, or already set up their whole system. We integrate with that very easily. You can do that on your own. Tier 2 support, all the things that you would need. And then lastly, the partner responsibilities is it's your brand and it's tier 1 support. So that's all you really need is to go out and do the business the way that you've been continuing to do it over the years. And we're here to help you and support you.
Right.
Okay, last slide here, 21. These are just some of the highlights here, but I would encourage everybody, if you would like to have an additional conversation about this or go through this, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to those that feel like this is a good fit for them. We can get into more detail about how we can help your particular company with your customers. Go out to them with success. We have the solution. You have the customers. We built this company as an opportunity to be able to give you a best-class solution that you can go out with confidence. At the core of TelCloud, we're actually a software development company. So the reality of the back end, all the things that we're doing in our backhaul is really what's allowing this transmission to work. So again, I'm going to flash this up as probably, actually they did change it. Okay, so here's my information here. Feel free to reach out. That's actually my mobile number. Feel free to call me or text me. I would love to connect with anybody that has any interest, or if you feel like this is a good fit for you, we'd be very happy to get into more detail about this and more discussion and hopefully offer you a great solution and pair what you're already doing today with NetSapiens and give you a chance to go out and secure some of these opportunities that are out there, because we would say that the suggested MSRP is $45 to $55. And when you start talking about the connectivity piece and our piece, it gives you the idea, it gives you the ability to get $20 to $35 to $40 of revenue off of each line.
That answered one of the questions that came in, Rob. Good.
Yeah, so about the actual pricing.
Yeah.
So there's three components. There's three components to TelCloud. One is there's an on-premise hardware that we have to have. That's a one-time cost. Now, your installation would be a one-time cost as well. But there's a hardware component. Then there's a connectivity.
Oop, we lost your.
Very nice. Sorry.
There you go.
Well, sorry. I was trying to hold this up so that you guys could hear me okay. So there's a connectivity piece, which is the SIM or the data piece that you'd be bringing in. And then there's our piece. So depending on what flavor that you would like to go with, if you're going to use your own platform, that cost can be as little as $6 to use as a reoccurring cost. So the data component, our cost on our platform, you pair your PBX, and then you would have the hardware cost. So it does give you the opportunity to actually go out and see quite a bit of margin off of the lines. But that's where, depending on your business model, you get to choose. Some guys are doing it for more than $55. Some guys are doing it for less, and it just depends on how you're choosing to go out to your customers.
Great, and you've got your contact details here, Rob. What I'll try and do here is maybe go back through some of the questions we might not have answered, and then I will send the deck and the recording with Rob's contact details in there as well. One question that came in and I didn't address was, where was it? Connected. Okay, sorry. There was a question about do you need number porting or any implications on 911 lines? Any number portability things that are needed as part of it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I missed that, unfortunately, with the distractions. But that said, as we handle all that for you, that's part of the offering is one, E911 services, all that's handled for you. You know, all we need to understand is what the location is. If you're in a campus situation where you have multiple buildings at one address, we just know which fire panel or which elevator is in which building. And we make sure that, and you also, through our dashboard and online portal, you can ensure that and make sure that's happening yourself. You would have a single pane of glass so you can see across your entire organization, you can see every customer, each location, every line at that location. And that way you know for a fact that if it's in building one, it's the fire panel at a certain address, the first responders are going to know exactly where to go. As far as porting, now typically what we do is we assign all new local numbers unless it's a published number. So if it's a published number like a fax machine or a voice line, we can port that. And how we do that, there's no disruption of service. We actually assign a temporary number to it and forward it to it. So that line is continuing to be active until the porting process is complete. And we handle all that for you.
And there was one other one there. Are there any alarm panels or modems that are not compatible, you know, that they should steer away from?
Good question. I think that's probably a case-by-case scenario. So far, you know, we have all the panels that are out there. There's a long list of them that we can kind of get out to everybody. All the protocols are handled, so we haven't had any issues.
Great. Okay, I think we've run over here. So, folks, like I said, today I'll get the recording out and the deck, and you'll have Rob's details in there for follow-up questions. I see a lot of questions around pricing and what margins in for our partners. So I think this has been great. Apologize, folks, on the issues at the front, but I'm glad Rob went through this. We had a ton of interest, and this is probably the most questions, Rob, I've ever seen on any of our webinars. So that's a great sign.
Yeah, no, I'm really appreciative of all the people joining. Thank you again. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to you in more detail about your specific needs and how we can help you go out to your customers and secure these recurring revenue model for yourself.
Great. Thank you very much, Rob. And thank you, John, over at TelCloud on the chat side for helping out as well. Okay, folks, well, much appreciated. Next up will be a webinar in the next couple of weeks with our partners at Yealink on some of the industry trends from an endpoint standpoint, and then their latest in the line of products that they've just released or about to release. So look for an invite for that coming up in the next couple of weeks. I really appreciate your time, Rob and John. So thanks again, and look forward to talking to everybody soon. Thank you again. Take care.
Thank you, guys.